You know, when you think about an athlete generating just massive awe-inspiring power, it usually looks like absolute maximum physical exertion.
Yeah, exactly. You picture an Olympic sprinter violently launching out of the blocks, or like an NFL linebacker driving through a heavy tackle.
Right. You can literally see the muscles straining. It just looks like hard, grueling work.
You're visualizing raw, unfiltered force, you know? It's a muscular effort just laid bare for everyone to see.
But then you look at an elite modern golf swing. You watch a tour professional step up to a tee and launch a drive 320 yards right down the middle, and it looks completely different.
It does. It looks almost effortless, like they barely even swung at all.
Yeah, it always reminds me of cracking a heavy bullwhip. Like if you just take your whole body and heave it forward all at once, that whip just drags heavily in the dirt.
Right, there's no snap.
Exactly. But if you plant your feet, turn your body, and then aggressively snap your wrist at the exact last millisecond, you get that deafening crack. It's not a heave. It's a precisely timed explosion.
The golf swing might actually be the greatest physical illusion in all of sports. I mean, we watch it on television and see this smooth, flowing rhythm.
But underneath that aesthetic layer, it's an incredibly violent, complex biomechanical chain reaction.
Absolutely. We are talking about human bodies producing clubhead speeds over 120 miles per hour in just a fraction of a second.
And unlocking the secrets of that chain reaction is, well, it's our mission for you today. So welcome to our deep dive into the science of the golf swing.
Our goal here is to take you beyond those old cliches and the standard swing thoughts you hear at the driving range.
Right. We want to unpack the actual physics of generating effortless power, achieving perfect iron compression, and finally curing that dreaded slice. And we have a mountain of fascinating source material today.
Oh, the stack of data we have is incredible. We are looking at 3D motion analysis from KVS systems that actually track tour professionals.
Yeah, plus the kinematic sequence research from the Titleist Performance Institute and data from Science and Golf V, not to mention practical coaching blueprints.
We are essentially bridging the gap between the biomechanics laboratory and your weekend round. It's a phenomenal collection of data that strips away all the guesswork.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because whether you are a weekend warrior just trying to break 90 or a scratch golfer, everyone is chasing the exact same holy trinity.
Distance, accuracy, and consistency.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to understand how the pros achieve that trinity, we actually have to look at how the golf swing has physically evolved over the decades.
Well, if we pull from the research in the International Journal of Sports Physical Therapy, they detail this massive shift from the classic golf swing to what we now call the modern golf swing.
And by classic swing, we're talking about like the legendary players from the mid-20th century.
Right. It was a very unified motion. The pelvis and the trunk rotated together relatively equally, and the swing finished in a very relaxed, upright posture.
Which looks incredibly elegant. And frankly, it seems a lot easier on the lower back.
Oh, it was much more forgiving on the spine. But the modern swing is built entirely on a concept called hip and trunk dissociation.
Okay, dissociation. That's what's famously known as the X factor in biomechanics, isn't it?
Exactly. It is the difference in the angle between the rotation of your shoulders and the rotation of your pelvis at the top of the backswing.
So the upper body is turned way more than the lower body.
Right. And the modern swing attempts to maximize this X factor to create an extreme amount of elastic potential energy. It delivers incredible clubhead speed, but the trade-off is a drastic change in the physical demands placed on the human body.
And this is where I see the consistency gap just explode for amateur players. An amateur watches a modern pro on TV and tries to emulate that massive aggressive rotation.
But the results are wildly unpredictable. One shot is a massive slice, the next is chunked 3 inches behind the ball.
The data from a study by Cheatham and Broker. This was presented at the World Scientific Congress of Golf. It really illustrates why that happens, right?
It's fascinating. They hooked up 19 amateurs and 19 PGA Tour professionals to 3D electromagnetic sensors. Naturally, the pros swung much faster.
Sure, we'd expect that.
But the real revelation was the consistency of their internal timing. The researchers looked at the standard deviations, the variance from swing to swing, of the exact moments the pelvis, thorax, and arms hit their peak speeds.
What did they find?
The amateur standard deviations were at least double those of the pros.
Oh, wow. At least double. That is a staggering margin of error.
Yeah, The pros possess incredibly tight, almost robotic timing profiles. They execute the exact same sequence, millisecond by millisecond, every single time they pull the trigger.
While the amateurs are basically a walking example of biological chaos. Like, on one swing, their arms fire way too early. On the next, their hips stall out completely.
Precisely. So we need to define what that perfect robotic timing actually is. The scientific foundation the pros are using is something called the kinematic sequence.
The idea being that if you want to transfer energy efficiently from the ground all the way up through your body and into the clubhead, there is an optimal order, right?
Yes, an optimal peaking order for the speed of your body segments. In sports science, we call this the proximal to distal sequencing theory.
So from the center of the body outwards.
Exactly. For a golf downswing, the order of peak rotational speed should be your pelvis first, then your thorax or upper body, then your lead arm, and finally the golf club.
And the crucial part is that each segment's peak speed has to be both larger and later than the previous one.
It's a literal chain reaction. The pelvis accelerates and then puts on the brakes, which forcefully whips the torso forward.
Then the torso hits its peak speed and decelerates, which whips the arms. And the arms brake. And that violently whips the club through the impact zone.
The braking is the secret sauce. That Cheatham study actually proved that pelvis deceleration before impact is a highly desirable trait of a fast swing.
Because energy transfers across joints when the larger, heavier segment slows down, transferring its momentum to the smaller, lighter segment.
Right, exactly.
But wait, I have to push back here on the physics of how we actually generate that power, because the source material talks a lot about this concept of impulse.
Yes, impulse. In physics, impulse equals force multiplied by time.
Right, so if you increase impulse, you increase momentum and velocity. But the research also states the average golf downswing lasts only about 230 milliseconds.
Which is literally the blink of an eye.
Exactly, and human muscles take about 300 milliseconds just to build up to peak force. So how on earth do you increase the time variable in that equation? We obviously can't just swing in slow motion to buy more time.
You're hitting on the core genius of modern elite ball strikers right there. To increase the time over which force is applied, they start their downswing with their pelvis moving toward the target. But they do this while their torso and arms are still moving backward to complete the backswing.
Wait, so they are actively moving in two opposite directions at the exact same time?
That is the dissociation we mentioned earlier. By firing the pelvis forward while the upper body is still rotating backward, they artificially stretch the musculature in their core.
And that triggers something called the stretch shortening cycle, right?
Yes.
Let's break that term down for a second. Like, what does that cycle actually look like inside the body?
Think of your muscles and tendons like a heavy rubber band. If you just hold a rubber band and pull one end back, you get some tension.
Makes sense.
But if you pull the back end away while simultaneously pushing the front end forward, the tension multiplies rapidly. In the body, sensory receptors called muscle spindles detect this rapid, extreme stretching.
And they basically send a panic signal to the spinal cord.
Exactly. The spinal cord instantly sends a signal back saying, contract immediately to prevent a tear. This neurological reflex causes the muscles to snap back with far more force than a voluntary contraction ever could. So by creating this dynamic stretch, pros are literally buying themselves extra milliseconds to apply force.
Massively increasing the total impulse delivered to the club. That is absolutely fascinating. It's like a biological hack.
And it really is.
But here is where the data takes a wildly unexpected turn. Despite all this sports science beautifully mapping out this ideal kinematic sequence, the Titleist Performance Institute dropped an absolute bombshell.
Yeah, they did. They analyzed a massive sample size, 95 PGA Tour players and 31 LPGA Tour players.
And what did they find? Because this blew my mind.
They discovered that only 25% of the male pros and 39% of the female pros perfectly executed this ideal kinematic sequence.
Wait, really? Only 1 in 4 PGA Tour pros is doing this perfectly on paper.
I know, it challenges a lot of rigid coaching philosophies. These players are all generating massive clubhead velocity and making millions of dollars.
So what does that actually tell us?
It tells us that while the proximal to distal sequence is the gold standard for pure efficiency, elite athletes are masters of compensation.
Ah, I see. They find incredible ways to utilize their own unique physical strengths and mobility to generate that stretch and impulse.
Right, even if their timing order isn't textbook perfect.
Okay, so if even the guys on TV aren't perfect, what are us weekend amateurs doing so catastrophically wrong? I mean, When my instinct tells me I need to hit the ball further, my brain says, heave your shoulders at it.
Oh, absolutely. You want to use your upper body because that's where you feel strongest. But that upper body instinct is the biggest trap in golf.
And there is a very trendy tip floating around driving ranges right now that says you should, quote, rotate your chest to start the downswing.
Yeah, and the 3D data from Athletic Motion Golf proves this is disastrous advice.
Why is that so bad, though? Like, if I turn my chest hard, shouldn't the club move faster?
It's about how the body balances forces. If your concept is to pull hard with your shoulders from the top of the swing, you immediately throw your hands and the club out away from your body.
Oh, I see. And that steepens the angle of the club shaft.
Exactly. It creates that classic over-the-top chopping motion. Athletic Motion Golf used a brilliant analogy for this.
The swivel chair one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Imagine sitting in a swivel office chair with your feet off the ground. If you violently twist your chest to the right, your lower body and the chair are naturally going to spin backward to the left to counter the force.
Because physics demands an equal and opposite reaction.
Precisely. So when you aggressively fire your chest from the top of the golf swing, you are literally forcing your pelvis to stop rotating toward the target. You shut the engine off.
Man, that's rough. And the cascade of errors doesn't stop there, does it?
Not at all. Because the golfer has now steepened the club and stopped their hip rotation, the only way to actually make contact with the ball is to forcefully side bend their spine.
So they have to unnaturally crunch their right side down for a right-handed player just to reach the turf.
Yeah, and that is a primary cause of severe lower back injuries, intercostal muscle sprains, and just wildly inconsistent ball striking.
But let's be fair to the amateurs for a second. There was a study published in preprints.org that used the K-Vest wireless biofeedback system to map out the full swings of 8 male professional golfers.
Right.
And they found that even at the elite level, human bodies break down under the immense speed.
The K-Vest is a remarkable piece of technology because it captures 3D angular velocities that standard 2D video completely misses. And the researchers noted that at the top of the backswing, these pros frequently suffered from excessive lateral pelvic bending.
Give me a visual of lateral pelvic bending. What are we actually seeing there?
So instead of the hips rotating in a circle like a revolving door, lateral bending means the hips are sliding sideways toward the target.
Almost like a baseball batter stepping into a pitch.
Exactly like that. And when the hips slide instead of turn, you lose the stable base needed for that powerful rotation. The study also highlighted that pros often suffered from over-rotation of the torso in the closed direction.
By closed direction, you mean turning their chest so far backward that it's actually pointing past the camera and away from the target.
Precisely. We talked about how valuable the X factor is, but if you over-rotate the chest backward, you actually lose the tension. The rubber band goes slack.
Oh, I get it. And finally, at the moment of impact, the K-Vest data showed several pros exhibiting excessive forward trunk lean.
Right. They were losing their spine angle and diving their chest down toward the ball, which completely crowds the arms and ruins the striking space.
So even the guys playing for millions are out there fighting their own biomechanics. But all of this incredible speed from the kinematic sequence is totally useless if the club face is pointing into the parking lot.
Yeah, that brings us to the most common soul-crushing amateur mistake in the world. The slice.
According to the coaching manual from Lynx Golf, a slice is not the result of bad timing. A slice is pure, unforgiving math.
It is entirely dictated by geometry. A slice occurs when the club face is open relative to the swing path at the exact moment of impact.
So if your swing path is traveling outside, meaning the club is cutting across the ball from right to left, and your club face is pointing to the right of that path, what happens?
The ball is going to curve violently left to right for a right-handed player.
And the driver makes this geometrically worse than any other club in the bag, right?
Absolutely. It has the longest shaft, meaning the club head has the furthest distance to travel to square back up. The ball is positioned forward in your stance, which just begs you to lunge at it with your shoulders and open the face.
But the real killer is the loft. I mean, if you hit a 7-iron with an open face, that club has 30+ degrees of loft, which generates a ton of backspin.
And that backspin fights the side spin axis. So a bad 7-iron slice might miss the green by 10 or 15 yards.
But a driver only has 9 or 10 degrees of loft. There is hardly any backspin to stabilize the flight. So that exact same swing flaw with a driver means your ball is 40 yards deep into the woods.
What's fascinating from a psychological standpoint is how amateurs try to fix it. When a player sees their ball slicing into the right trees, What is their immediate natural instinct on the next tee box?
Oh, they aim their body further to the left. They try to play the slice. I mean, I've done it 100 times.
And it is the worst possible adjustment you can make.
Really? Why is that?
By aiming your feet and shoulders left, you are pre-building a more extreme outside-in swing path before you even take the club back. You are mathematically guaranteeing an even bigger slice.
Wow. Okay, so how do we actually fix these specific sequencing and face control errors without, flooding our brains with 50 different swing thoughts? Let's dive into the practical applications from the source material.
Let's do it.
I want to start with stopping that terrible upper body spin we talked about.
The team at Athletic Motion Golf teaches a fantastic concept for this, called the lazy Susan. Instead of pulling with your chest to start the downswing, you need to feel like your pelvis is turning your upper body.
Okay, visualize that for me.
Imagine your upper body is resting on a large lazy Susan on a dining table. As the pelvis rotates, with your lead hip clearing backward and your trail hip moving toward the ball, the upper body just goes along for the ride. It doesn't actively spin itself.
My instinct here is to ask, what do I do with my arms then? Because if my hips are turning, I feel like I need to throw my hands at the ball to keep up.
You actually want the opposite. The arms essentially just fall from the top of the swing. For a right-handed player, you want to maintain the widest right arm possible as you transition down.
So you let gravity drop the arms back in front of your chest as your lower body clears the space for them.
Exactly, which perfectly sets up one of the most memorable anecdotes in our stack of sources today, courtesy of Kerrod Gray Golf.
Oh, the Tiger Woods story.
Yes. Apparently, early in his career, his legendary coach Butch Harmon gave him a sequencing drill that Tiger absolutely despised, but he forced himself to do it on the range for over a year.
It's a notoriously difficult drill because it requires immense patience and discipline. You swing to the top of your backswing, and then you stop completely. You hold a dead pause for one full, excruciating second.
Having tried this, I can tell you a full second pause at the top of a golf swing feels like an absolute eternity. Your brain is screaming at you that you've lost all your power.
You just feel totally exposed and awkward.
It strips away all your momentum, which is the whole point. While you are paused, you ensure your back stays facing the target, and your only move is to simply let your arms drop straight down.
So this completely resets your biological sequencing. It kills the urge for the shoulders to spin out, and it prevents the club from getting trapped behind your body.
Right. You manually drop the arms into the slot, and only then do you turn your body through the ball.
It builds that proximal to distal sequence by force. I mean, if Tiger Woods needed a year of that drill to get his sequence right, we should all probably be doing it.
I couldn't agree more.
But what if you are stuck in the woods actively fighting that slice? Lynx Golf provided a brilliant 45-minute range plan, and it hinges on one golden rule.
Which is that you absolutely must fix the club face before you attempt to fix your swing path.
That hierarchy is so critical. Why is the face first?
If your club face is chronically open, your brain's self-preservation instinct will never allow you to swing from the inside. Your brain knows that an inside path combined with an open face results in a ball launched directly out of bounds to the right.
Oh, I see. So your subconscious forces your shoulders to swing over the top just to start the ball left and keep it on the golf course.
Exactly. So step one is fixing the face. And the manual says the fastest way to achieve that is to strengthen your grip.
Right. And for a right-handed golfer, strengthening the grip means rotating both hands slightly clockwise on the handle of the club. When you take your setup and look down at your lead hand, you should clearly see 2 or 3 knuckles.
Now, fair warning to everyone, this is going to feel incredibly unnatural at first. You might even start hitting aggressive hooks to the left.
But the entire goal is to prove to your nervous system that you have the mechanical ability to close the club face on command.
Yes. Once your brain trusts that the face is closed, then you can attack the path. The Lynx plan outlines this great exercise called the Headcover gate drill.
Oh, this one is so simple but so effective. You simply place a head cover on the ground just outside the golf ball and slightly behind it.
And if you lunge with your shoulders and come over the top with that slicing outside-in path, you're going to smash your club right into the head cover.
The physical obstacle literally forces your brain to route the club from the inside to miss it.
And you layer that with what they call the right field start line drill. You pick your actual target on the range, and then you pick a secondary target about 15 yards to the right of it.
And your sole objective is to start the golf ball at that right side target.
Exactly. If the ball starts to the right and draws back to the center, it proves your path is successfully moving inside out and your club face is closing perfectly relative to that path.
Okay, so the slice is gone. The sequencing is tightening up. Now, how do we achieve that magical slow-motion pancake flat iron compression we see on Sunday television broadcasts?
When pros hit a 7-iron, it just sounds different.
It really does. And that distinct sound in flight require a descending blow. As the ball striking blueprint details, amateurs tend to hang back on their trail leg and try to scoop the ball up into the air.
But beautifully struck irons physically trap the golf ball between the club face and the turf. To achieve this, you need a mechanic they refer to as shoulder lag.
Usually when we talk about lag in golf, we are talking about the wrists, holding that sharp angle between the lead arm and the club shaft. But how do shoulders lag?
Shoulder lag means the rotation of your upper body is physically lagging behind the rotation of your pelvis.
Oh, okay.
When you practice or downswing transition, you want to feel a distinct stretch where your back stays facing the target just a fraction of a second longer, while your lower body aggressively shifts its weight and rotates toward the target.
So your lower body's momentum eventually yanks the shoulders through, which naturally drives the hands forward.
And that forward shaft lean is what delivers that massive trapping compression.
It all circles right back to the science of dissociation and the stretch shortening cycle we started with. The lower body leads, the upper body stretches and follows.
It's all connected.
But, as we wrap up, we have to acknowledge that the modern game isn't just about raw biomechanics anymore. Technology and gear are playing an undeniable role in performance and compensation.
The evolution in equipment is staggering. While a new driver won't magically cure a deeply flawed outside-in swing path, modern engineering acts as a massive shock absorber for our biomechanical mistakes.
If you struggle with a slice, upgrading to a high MOI or moment of inertia driver is incredibly beneficial, right?
Definitely. These club heads are designed with extreme perimeter weighting to resist twisting when you strike the ball off the toe or the heel.
And the data from Lynx Golf strongly recommends that slicers actually add loft to their driver too. Bumping a driver up from 9 degrees to 10.5 or even 12 degrees increases that backspin we talked about earlier.
Which naturally stabilizes the ball against the curve-inducing side spin. Plus, utilizing draw-biased weighting, where the manufacturer shifts mass toward the heel of the club head, actually helps the toe of the club rotate closed much faster through the impact zone.
And looking beyond the clubs, the true frontier of the sport is in measurement and mapping. We touched on the human kinetics breakdown of the 5 phases of the shoulder complex: the takeaway, forward swing, acceleration, early follow-through, and late follow-through.
For decades, coaches had to rely on standard 2D video to analyze these rapid phases.
Which, given that the downswing is 230 milliseconds, is like trying to read a textbook through a foggy keyhole.
That's exactly the problem. But today, with 3D motion mapping systems like the K-Vest, instructors can finally see the invisible.
They can track the exact degrees of lateral trunk curvature. They can visualize the microaccelerations and decelerations of the pelvis that are completely undetectable to the human eye.
We have finally moved golf instruction out of the realm of visual guesswork and into the era of hard, objective, actionable data.
So what does this massive stack of data mean for you, heading out to the driving range this weekend? It means that the golf swing is ultimately a game of applied physics and immense patience.
Raw, violent upper body strength is not the engine of the golf swing. It's a trap that ruins your sequence. True power is generated from the ground up.
It comes from impulse, which relies entirely on dissociation, letting that lower body lead the way while the upper body lags behind to create that powerful, snapping, stretch-shortening cycle.
And practically speaking, if you are battling a slice, stop aiming further left. Address the root cause. Fix your grip to square the face first, then put an obstacle down to force yourself to swing from the inside.
And don't be afraid to utilize that frustrating Tiger Woods pause drill. Stopping dead at the top of your swing might feel awkward and exposing, but it is one of the most effective ways to feel a professional transition sequence.
Let the hips bump and let the arms fall.
Bringing all of this data together brings up a final, provocative thought. We noted earlier the bombshell that only 25% of PGA Tour players actually execute the textbook perfect kinematic sequence.
Right, so does a universally perfect golf swing actually exist?
Exactly. Or is the future of golf biomechanics completely personalized? Perhaps the ultimate goal of all this 3D data isn't to force you to copy a rigid textbook model.
Maybe it's to find the single most efficient kinematic sequence tailored specifically to the unique mobility, mass, and physical limitations of your own body.
That is phenomenal perspective to take with you to the first tee. You don't need to contort yourself to swing like Adam Scott. You just need to uncover the most efficient version of your own swing.
The science is there to optimize what you have, not to force you into a box that just doesn't fit.
And as a reminder to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our channel and share it with fellow golfers, coaches, and PGA professionals. If there's a topic you would like us to research, analyze, and discuss in a future episode, feel free to send us an email or connect with us through LinkedIn. Whether your interest is golf biomechanics, kinematics, ground reaction forces, swing mechanics, putting, coaching, club fitting, technology, or sports science, we would love to hear from you. Our team will review your submission, conduct extensive research, analyze the available evidence, and may create a dedicated podcast episode, article, video, or testing project based on your topic. Thank you for being part of the eCoach 360-degree community.
Remember to trust the mechanics, not your instincts.
So the next time you step up to the ball, don't just heave your shoulders at it. Plant your feet, build the tension, let the lower body lead, and just wait for the snap of the whip. Catch you next time.